Now we're here in the garage. Back behind me, I have a 1995 Nissan Skyline GTR VSpec. I'll be doing a review in the garage and then I'll be taking it out on the road to do a road test. Now we'll go ahead and do a quick look over of this Nissan Skyline GTR VSpec and then we'll get down to the details. But this is what she looks like, doing a quick walk around. Go ahead and start in the front. We're starting this engine bay. So inside this engine bay, what I want to see is the legendary RB26. So this car is a 1995 and inside the engine bay, it looks pretty clean for a car that's 30 years old now since it's 2025. Look inside of here. So first thing I noticed is these coil packs. So on my car's a 94 Celica GT-Four WRC spec. My car has a distributor. I noticed that this car comes with coil packs on these spark plugs right here. So they're individual coil packs for each spark plug on this motor. I'm not sure if it comes from the factory like this or if this was a aftermarket modification. But regardless, I like having coil packs because they just give you more flexibility when it comes to tuning. Let's take a look at these air intakes. This is definitely aftermarket now. So since this car is a twin turbo, it's got two intakes right here, one for each turbo. We'll take a look down here, see if we can see the turbos. These turbos, they're still the factory turbos, so they're hitting down in between here. Let me try to zoom in, but that's the best I'm gonna get. But these turbos, they're right there. That's one of them. So it looks like these are Garrett turbos. They're not the largest, but these are still the factory turbos, so you can't really expect too much. And those turbos, they're hidden down in beneath here, so they're kind of hard to see. But since I have my car right here, let me come over to the Celica GT-Four. This turbo is right here. It's really easy and accessible to see. And you can just look at it real quick, and it's a pretty big turbo for being a single turbo car on this little car. But we'll get back to this Skyline GTR. So over here, another thing I noticed is this radiator. So this radiator, it's aluminum, so it's definitely aftermarket. Let's see what brand it is. Looks like a AGS, so I'm not sure what brand that is, but at least it has an aftermarket radiator that's aluminum. Most cars, they come with a plastic type radiator, and the only thing I don't like about those plastic type radiators is that over time, they tend to crack, and then you have to replace those radiators. But with this aluminum one, you don't have to worry about those radiators cracking. We'll go ahead and move around to these air intakes. These are aftermarket air intakes. These are Apexi dual funnel air cleaners. So there's two of them, one again for each turbo. So it does say twin turbo here. This gives it a really nice touch, and it looks like this strut tower bar comes standard on these Skyline GTRs. It does say Skyline GTR in it, so it definitely adds a nice touch to this vehicle. Now something else that we need to talk about is how much power this motor makes. So it's a RB26. So 26 means it's a 2.6 liter. So you notice this engine is mounted vertically like this, so long way. So it's a all-wheel drive. Since it's a GTR, it's an all-wheel drive vehicle. So these coil packs right here, there's 6 of them. So it's a 6-cylinder, so it's an inline 6-cylinder. So this motor from the factory, as published, it claims to make about 280 horsepower and about 273-ish foot-pounds of torque as well. So from the factory numbers, it's rather low, but I've driven this car on the way to my garage, and it seems like this car definitely has more power than 280 horsepower. Now something else I noticed about this car, since it's a GTR, it does have this HKS sequential blow-off valve. So this blow-off valve, it did sound pretty nice on the way over here, and I really loved it. And with this car, I did notice that it does make that legendary sound from the turbo. So once we get on the road, we'll do a road test on this vehicle, and we'll see if I can capture some of that sound on video. Let's go ahead and move on to the wheels. So the wheels, these are aftermarket wheels. These are 18-inch rims from the factory. I'm pretty sure they came with 17-inch rims, but considering how much power this motor can make, I think 18-inch rims is totally appropriate for this vehicle. take a look at these brakes right here. So most of these sports cars, they'll come with dual pot brakes, so 4-piston type calipers. So on here you can kind of see the name, but from the factory, these are Brembo brakes. So they do come from the factory with Brembo brakes. Take a look at this brake rotor. So this brake rotor, the fronts, they're about 324 millimeters in diameter. That's a pretty big beefy brake, but then since my Celica's here, I have to showcase my Celica as well. We'll swap around right here real quick. Take a look at this Celica. So this Celica also has a 4-pot system. So 4 pistons on the front brakes, and on this one it says Celica. So it doesn't say Brembo. Toyota went ahead and put Celica on it. Another thing to mention about this WRC spec is that all GT4s, these brake rotors, they're pretty big brake rotors for the Celica. These are actually 315 millimeters. So 315 millimeters on the Celica, 324 on the GTR. And then for the backs, surprisingly, the backs, they're about 310 millimeters on this GTR. And then for the Celica, they're 315 in the back. So in the back, they're also a 2-pot system. So there's 2 pistons in the back for the rear calipers as well. So both these cars, really big brakes. So it's gonna help you stop when you're doing those high speeds and you're cornering around those turns and just trying to have fun out there. Now we'll go ahead and keep moving down the car. So on this front fender, since it's a JDM vehicle, it has these yellow side markers. So in Japan, all of these vehicles have these yellow side markers. You'll also notice this GT badging. So all GTRs have this GT badging on the front fender. So we'll go back to these yellow side markers. Take a look at this Celica. Celica has it as well because they're both JDM cars. Go ahead and keep moving down here as well. What the rear of the car looks like. So back here again, take a look at these brakes real quick. So on this little circle right here, it's the piston. So it's a 2-piston type, one on either side. So these brakes back here are still OEM, but they're 310 millimeters in diameter. So they're still pretty big brakes and really good for this vehicle. We'll go ahead and take a look underneath the car as well. There's something I want to show you down there as well. But before we go underneath the car, let's take a look at the rear of the vehicle. So earlier, I did say that this was a V-spec. So sometimes you'll see these cars and they'll be missing like some badges, but normally it'll say V-spec up here. But since this car doesn't have it, I'm going to show you what to look for to make sure that this car is really a V-spec. So we'll go ahead and go underneath the car. Alright, so now we're underneath the car. So we take a look at this rear diff right here. So there's these fins. That's another way you can tell that this car's a V-spec. It has these fins on this rear cover of the diff mount right here. And then all these electrical components, if they're on here, then it's a V-spec. Then another way you can tell is this hydraulic line right here. This hydraulic line is connected to the rear diff as well. And this goes up to the front reservoir. So you see all this underneath your GTR and it's debadged. That's another way you can tell that it's a real V-spec. Because only the V-specs come with active limited slip differentials. And then we'll come up to the dash real quick while we're explaining this active limited slip differential. So in the dash, in the RPM gauge, it'll also say ALSD for active limited slip differential. And what that does on this car is it's an active limited slip differential. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna send power to the rear wheels like left or right, or it can even send it to the front wheel. So it's constantly monitoring each single wheel, and it's gonna add that hydraulic fluid into the rear differential and send that power to whichever wheel is losing power. Now let's take a look at this exhaust pipe right here. So this exhaust pipe looks like a 4-inch pipe. So all the way from the catalytic converter all the way back here, it looks like a 4-inch pipe. I have a 3-inch pipe on my Celica, and this is definitely not a 3-inch pipe, so it's probably a 4-inch pipe. But we'll go ahead and take a look at this exhaust and see if we could see what kind of exhaust is on this car. Alright, so I had to wipe off all the dirt that was on here, but we'll just light around. So it looks like this exhaust is NVIDIA exhaust. So I'm not sure if this is a Japanese company or not. It could be, but I seen these type of exhausts made for like Hondas before, so I'm not sure if they're a Japanese company or not. But looks like the This exhaust pipe is, looks like the tip is maybe like 5 inches. It's probably like a 5-inch pipe. Let's take a look inside of this pipe right here, see if we can see all the way through. So this exhaust, it is a straight through design from the tailpipe. So from the muffler, all the piping, it looks straight down in there. It's a straight through design, which is really going to help with relieving the exhaust back pressure. Now this is how this GTR looks like from the back. I love how Nissan keeps these circular taillights on all their GTRs. It gives it that signature classy touch that you know that when you see these circular taillights leaving you in the dust, it's probably a GTR. We'll go ahead and take a look at this factory wing right here. There's something really special going on with these factory JDM wings. So these wings right here, there's a little hex screw right here, and then we'll go into the inside of this wing. So this wing, you can adjust it as far as the angle of attack, so you can adjust it to go up or down, the leading edge right here. So you come around the inside right here, and over here, I'm gonna have to try to zoom in a little, but over here you would just move it from these different positions. So it's got 3 positions right now, the top, middle, and bottom. So you would just adjust this to move the front leading edge of this rear spoiler up or down. So you could tilt this like this by adjusting this screw right here. So that's pretty awesome about this spoiler and this type of spoiler that comes on this GTR. I'll go ahead and keep moving around to the other side of the car and show you something about this car. So oh, it does have a rear window wiper right here as well. This Celica also has a rear window wiper as well. So must be a Japanese thing for these 90s cars to come with these rear window wipers. I'll take a look at the length right here. So I'm gonna let me push this GTR back, and we'll see how much longer this GTR is compared to that Celica over there. Alright, so these 2 cars look like they're pretty even right now. We'll go ahead and see how much longer this car is. So that's the best I'm gonna get on camera, but they're pretty much lined up. So again, these 2 cars come with these really huge spoilers. Leave a comment below if you think the GTR spoiler looks better than this WRC spec Celica GT-Four. Just leave a comment down below and we'll see what the people say, which one looks better. But we'll go ahead and keep moving around to this car. So come right here. So this side is pretty much the same side as the other side, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. But we'll come to the front of the vehicle. So the front of the vehicle, we can see that this GTR is probably maybe about a foot longer, or maybe even a foot and a half longer. So that's how much longer this car is. But it's alright. You have this Godzilla engine here, RB26. Let's go ahead and hop inside this vehicle and see what this interior looks like. Now for a 30-year-old car, the interior, it doesn't look bad for a 30-year-old car. I've seen cars that were 20 years old or 15 years old and look much worse than this. But this is actually really good for a 30-year-old car. I'll take a look at this door panel. So this door panel, this looks like soft touch leather. That's really common with these 90s vehicles. That's another reason why I like these 90s vehicles, is all these trim right here. And especially up on the dash, they're made of this soft touch material. To me, it's just a whole lot more luxurious than being all made out of plastic. So on my Frontier, all this stuff is just plastic. And it's really easy to clean plastic, but it just feels really cheap. So this panel right here is covered in nice cloth material. It's perforated as well, so it gives it that nice luxurious touch as well. Come take a look at these door controls. So here we have the windows, door lock, and window lock as well. Down here, classic 3 pedals, clutch, brake, and gas. Really love manual transmissions, and wouldn't be a sports car if you didn't have these 3 pedals down here. Here you have your hood release, trunk and gas release right here. Take a look at these seats real quick. So here you can, looks like this is lumbar support. So it has a, oh no, this actually this actually reclines the seat. So it reclines the seat. This is to recline the seat as well. And then you have another handle down here to slide the seat forward and aft. So this bolstering right here, I was sitting in it earlier, it's pretty aggressive. And for a small person like me, it actually hugs me really well. So look at all this bolstering right here. It comes out about maybe 5 or 6 inches. So the bolstering is really aggressive. This is still the factory seat. So some of these vehicles, they'll come factory with Recaros, but for some reason, I don't know if this generation came with Recaros or not, but this is what came with the car. So I'm gonna say it's an OEM seat. But I really like it. It's not leather, but it's this kind of cloth material, and it really hugs you really well, and it's not going to let you slide around because this is made out of cloth, and it's going to help stick with your clothes when you're sitting in here. So it's going to hold you in place when you're driving this car. Let's take a look at the steering wheel. So the steering wheel is definitely aftermarket. So it looks like it's a Bosch Racing Sports steering wheel, and I don't know, like I like it. Like I didn't have no issues driving this car like this. This steering wheel, like when I was driving it, it felt really nice. So I ain't complaining about this steering wheel. Over here, you have your window switches right here that controls your window mirrors right here, these side mirrors right here. So that's where they're at. And then we'll talk about this dash real quick. So on the dashboard, over here on the far left, we have our temperature gauge for the coolant, the engine, gas gauge, speedometer, tachometer, and then over here is the oil pressure. So another thing is this vehicle, definitely not aftermarket. It does have the Apexy PC Commander controller, so this is kind of like a aftermarket ECU upgrade. So you can use this to tune and program your vehicle. So this car is definitely not making the specified 280 horsepower that Nissan says it makes from factory. With all the upgrades, it's probably pushing well over 300. It's definitely well over 300. But we'll take a look at this center console right here. Defrost, hazards. This is actually your clock right here. And then here we have the front torque, oil temp, and then your boost gauge right here. So here you have the transmission. So this is a 5-speed manual transmission. That kind of surprised me when I first got in this vehicle, but I think the Supras at the time, they came with 6-speed transmissions, but it was kind of weird that Nissan put a 5-speed transmission in this car, but I didn't have no issues driving it on the way over here. The shifter went into all the gears perfectly fine. It was nice and smooth. And when I was like upshifting and downshifting, there's no issues with this clutch. The clutch engaged, and I was able to move the shifter into all the gears just fine. And this is probably one of the better gearboxes too. Almost as good as a Honda gearbox. It went into all the gears perfectly fine. And then the best part about this manual transmission is this traditional manual e-brake. I love having a manual e-brake right here on the side. Now we'll take a look at the passenger side real quick. So the passenger side also comes with these bucket seats. That's how the passenger side door looks like in here and down in the footwell. So it's pretty standard for 1995. Everything up here is this is kind of soft touch. This is soft touch as well too. So I really love the soft touch material of these 90s style cars right here. So that's a big plus on this car as well. All right, let's go ahead and hop out of this GTR. There's a couple things I want to point out real quick before we take this GTR out and do a road test on this GTR. So I have my trusty old magnet right here. I'm gonna stick on these door panels and this hood right here. I just want to see if this hood's made out of aluminum or some kind of metal that's gonna weigh more on this vehicle. So we'll try to see if this magnet's gonna stick. Alright, so it doesn't stick, so I'm pretty sure that this hood is a aluminum type hood, which is really good. When I was lifting it up and down, it was really light, so I kind of figured that it might be aluminum, so I just wanted to do that check real quick. So another thing that I noticed real quick was that the front fenders, they're also aluminum. So I'm going to stick this magnet on here, see if it sticks. Alright, so it doesn't stick. So these front panels, really interesting that these front panels are made out of aluminum as well. We'll stick on this door panel right here. So it sticks, so the doors are made out of metal. Take a look at this Celica right here real quick. So these front fenders, they're also made out of metal, so they're gonna weigh a little bit more than what's on the GTR. But the good thing is the hood is made out of aluminum as well. So it really helps save on the weight. One of the big differences between the GTR's hood and this GT4's hood is all this ventilation on the hood right here. So here you have some ventilation right here, here, and here. But on the GTR, there's no ventilation on this hood. So that's the way it comes like from the factory. And on this GT4, it's the way it comes like this on the factory as well. So both factory hoods, but still really nice and really good to know that these hoods are made out of aluminum. So it definitely helps save on the weight. So we'll go ahead and close this hood and take her out on the road. Alright, so we got the GTR on the road right now. We're going to do a road test. So far, I'm just cruising around town right now. We're going to make our way up to Interstate so we can do some pulls in this car and see how she handles. But so far, this vehicle, the suspension on the VSpecs, they're a little stiffer from the factory. I can definitely tell that it's stiffer. The ride's much more stiffer than a normal car, so it's just something to keep in mind if you decide to go with the VSpec. The suspension is going to be a little stiffer. Now mechanically, this car, it's sound. It doesn't sound like there's anything loose or anything. The engine sounds really smooth. What I'm doing now, I'm just slowly giving it some gas and on and off, just to see what the engine does and see how she reacts. So when you give it gas, you can definitely hear the intake sucking in that air. I'm not sure if the audio is going to be able to be picked up, but you can definitely hear the sound being sucked through those air intakes. So now we're going to go ahead and hit the interstate and see what this car's got. All those stories about GTRs and being Godzilla is definitely true. Even though this car has factory turbos, there's still plenty of power, lots of torque. Definitely lives up to the name of Godzilla. Have those twin turbos and that RB26. Let's go ahead and downshift and get on this interstate. So just gonna slow down a little bit and hit this on-ramp. Alright, let's see what she's got. Alright, so definitely lots of top-end power. So those twin turbos, sequential twin turbos, definitely no slouch in this car. Now, I've said it earlier when we were in the garage that this gearbox is a really good gearbox. Like, I didn't have no issues, even though it was shifting with your left hand, sitting on the right side of the car, but no issues, and it seemed like everything was just normal. Like a left hand drive vehicle shifting with your right hand. So like shifting with your left hand, like it was just normal, so natural. The shifter went into gears, nice and smooth, and it didn't clunk or clink or anything like that, so it's definitely normal. Really impressed for a 30-year-old gearbox. Alright, so we're gonna roll the windows down, go underneath this bridge and give her a couple of quick revs and just see what this RB26 sounds like. Alright, that's what she sounds like. Alright, so what we're doing now is halfway through our loop, so we're gonna hit the interstate again and take it back home and then finish up this video. But before we do that, we need to get back on this interstate, so the on-ramp is always the perfect place to give it a little gas, so we'll go ahead and do that before we head home. Definitely puts you in the back seat, so if you're looking for power and torque, like this RB26 truly lives to its name. Paired with this 5-speed manual transmission that shifts almost as smooth as butter. The only thing that would be better is a Honda gearbox. Honda gearbox is probably one of the best ones ever made, so I'll always give that to Honda. But as far as a Nissan made product, this GTR, definitely their halo car. And while we're making our way back to the garage, we'll go ahead and talk about this clutch. So this clutch, I'm not sure it's still the factory clutch or not, but it still's got plenty of life left on it. So when I was putting a load on the engine, this clutch was still holding all that power. So the clutch wasn't slipping or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about the clutch going out on this car, because this clutch is still good. We're at the stoplight, so we'll give it a little gas and see if we can listen and hear this turbo spool. Alright, so you can definitely hear that HKS blow-off valve. That high-pitched sound is always that signature sound of a HKS blow-off valve. Totally love it. Love the turbo flutter as well. Alright, so we're back in the garage. We got the GTR back in the garage, so we'll go ahead and close out this video. But before we close it out, so just want to mention that I do have GT4 content on my channel as well, so you can check out my other videos if you want to learn some more stuff about this GT4. So this car is for sale. I'll leave the link in the description below, and I'll leave it up there until this car is sold. And remember, join us next time on Garage Matters, and hit that like and subscribe button.